At my graduation ceremony, my family ignored me. Not loudly, not cruelly enough for anyone else to notice, just enough to remind me of my place. The auditorium smelled like fresh paper programs and perfume. Rows of families filled the seats, leaning forward, phones already raised, waiting for their moment. My moment. Or at least, that's what it was supposed to be. I stood backstage in my cap and gown, fingers nervously adjusting the tassel, heart pounding with a mix of pride and something heavier I didn't yet have a name for. This was the day I'd worked toward for 4 years. Late nights, double shifts, scholarships stacked on top of exhaustion, a degree earned inch by inch, and still. When I scanned the crowd from the edge of the stage, my stomach dropped. I saw them. My parents sat together. My sister sat between them, perfectly positioned, already smiling for a photo that had nothing to do with me. They were laughing. They didn't look up when my name was announced as next in line. Not until the applause started. And even then, my mother clapped politely, like she was acknowledging a stranger. My father didn't clap at all. He was busy whispering something to my sister, who laughed and leaned into him. I walked across the stage alone. No cheers. No proud tears. No standing ovation from the people who were supposed to be mine. Just polite noise. I shook the dean's hand, accepted my diploma, smiled for the camera like I'd practiced in the mirror. And inside, something settled. Not pain. Recognition. My name is Rachel Miller. And that was the moment I finally understood something I'd spent my entire life avoiding. My family didn't ignore me because I wasn't enough. They ignored me because I didn't need them. From the outside, we looked like the perfect family. 2 parents, 2 daughters, a nice house, holiday cards that made other families feel inadequate. But roles had been assigned early. My sister, Emily, was the star, emotional, delicate, always finding herself, always supported. Me? I was the practical one, the responsible one, the one who didn't cause trouble, because trouble didn't have room for me. When Emily failed a class, my parents hired a tutor. When I struggled, they told me, "You'll figure it out." When Emily needed help with rent, my father wrote a check. When I worked 2 jobs to pay tuition, my mother said, "It builds character." So by the time I started college, I already knew the rules. Don't ask, don't expect, don't complain. What they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was how far I'd gone beyond surviving. By my 2nd year, I wasn't just paying my own tuition. I was paying their bills. It started quietly. A credit card here. A temporary loan there. My father's business hit a rough patch. Emily needed help moving into a better apartment. Medical expenses piled up. Groceries, utilities, insurance. "It's just until we get back on our feet," my mom said. They never did, and I never stopped. Every month, I transferred money, paid balances, covered emergencies that somehow always found them. They told themselves it didn't count, because I never made a show of it, because I never asked for gratitude, because, in their minds, I was still the daughter who didn't need anything. By the time graduation came around, I had paid for my tuition, my cap and gown, my apartment, my car, my parents' credit card debt, my sister's rent for almost a year. And still, in that auditorium, they looked at me like I was invisible. After the ceremony, families flooded the aisles, flowers, hugs, tears. I stood near the edge of the crowd, diploma clutched in my hands, watching my parents pose with Emily. My mother adjusted Emily's hair. My father wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Someone nearby said, "You must be so proud of your daughter." My mother smiled. "Oh, yes," she said warmly. "She's always been very special." She wasn't talking about me. I waited for them to turn, to look for me, to notice I wasn't there. They didn't. Eventually, I walked up to them myself. "Hey," I said softly. My mother blinked, like she'd just remembered I existed. "Oh, hi, Rachel." "Hi." 4 years of sacrifice reduced to hi. My father glanced at my diploma, then away. "Good job," he said. "So, what's next?" No pride, no curiosity, just logistics. Emily smiled sweetly. "I told Mom you'd probably do well. You're good at school stuff." "School stuff." I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "I guess I am." That was when my father cleared his throat and said the sentence that changed everything. "Well, since you're graduating now, we'll need to talk about you helping out more. Your mother and I have been stretched thin." Stretched thin. The word echoed in my head. I looked at them. Really looked. The clothes I'd paid for. The car I'd helped keep. The comfort built quietly on my back. And suddenly, I wasn't tired anymore. I was awake. I smiled. "Of course," I said. "We can talk." But something in my voice made my mother pause. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't shrinking to fit their expectations. I was stepping out of them, and they had no idea what was about to stop. We went out for dinner after the ceremony. Not to celebrate me, that was clear. But because it was already planned. A restaurant my parents liked. Expensive enough to feel important. Familiar enough to feel comfortable for them. I sat across from my father, my mother beside him, Emily scrolling through her phone like the night belonged to her. The waiter congratulated me. My mother nodded politely. My father ordered wine. Emily asked if they had oat milk. No one asked how I felt. Halfway through dinner, my father leaned back in his chair and folded his hands like he was preparing to negotiate. "So," he said, "now that you're done with school, things should ease up financially for you." I waited. He continued. "Your mother and I were thinking you could take over the utility bills, at least for a while. Emily's rent too, until she figures things out." Emily didn't look up. This wasn't a request. It was an assumption. I set my fork down slowly. "I already pay those," I said. My father blinked. "What?" "I already cover the utilities," I repeated. "And Emily's rent. Have for months." Silence stretched across the table. My mother frowned. "No, you don't." I smiled, not out of humor, but clarity. "Yes," I said. "I do." Emily finally looked up. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking." My father laughed once, sharp and dismissive. "Rachel, you're confused. We've been managing just fine." I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone. Not dramatically, just calmly. I opened my banking app and slid it across the table. Transaction after transaction. Dates, amounts, descriptions, utilities, rent, credit card payments, insurance. My mother leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "This must be some kind of mistake," she said. "It's not," I replied. "You asked for help. I gave it, quietly." My father stared at the screen. His face changed, not to gratitude, to discomfort. "You should have told us," he said. I tilted my head. "You never asked." Emily scoffed. "So what? You're keeping score now." "No," I said. "I'm explaining reality." My mother straightened in her chair. "Families don't track money like this." "Families don't take without acknowledging either," I said. The waiter returned with our food. The moment passed. But something had shifted. They finished dinner quieter than before, and I knew, deep down, they'd already decided what to do next. They would minimize it, erase it, rewrite the story. I didn't confront them again that night. I didn't need to. Because the next morning, I made my decision. I stopped paying. Not out of revenge, out of self-respect. I canceled the automatic transfers, closed the shared accounts, removed my card from their subscriptions. I didn't announce it. I just stepped back. 3 days later, my phone rang. My mother. "Rachel," she said tightly. "There's a problem with the electric bill." I let the silence stretch. "What kind of problem?" I asked. "They say it's overdue." "Yes," I said. "It is." A beat. "Didn't you?" she began. "No," I said. I stopped. Her voice sharpened. "You can't just stop." "I can," I replied, and I did. She lowered her voice. "You're being selfish." I almost laughed. "I graduated," I said. "And for the first time, I chose myself." She hung up on me. Emily texted next. "This is seriously messed up. Mom is freaking out." I replied, "I've been paying quietly for years. You never thanked me. You never noticed. I'm done." She didn't respond. 2 weeks later, my father called. His voice was tired. "We didn't realize how much you were helping," he admitted. "But this isn't the way to handle it." "What would have been?" I asked. Silence. "I just wanted to be seen," I said. "At my graduation, at any point in my life." "You were seen," he insisted. "No," I said softly. "Emily was." That was the first crack, not loud, but real. A month passed. Bills piled up. Emily had to move. My parents sold their second car. They stopped posting smiling photos. And for the first time, they felt what I'd been carrying all along. One evening, my mother showed up at my apartment. No warning, no makeup. She looked older. "I didn't know," she said, standing in my doorway. "I thought you were fine." "I was surviving," I replied. "There's a difference." She swallowed. "I'm sorry. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't dramatic. But it was honest. And for the first time, it was enough. Because I didn't need revenge. I needed release. And I finally had it." My mother stood there for a long moment after she said it. "I'm sorry." The words hung between us. Fragile. Not because they were weak, but because they were new. I didn't step aside right away. I didn't invite her in immediately. Not to punish her, but because this time, I was choosing the pace. "I didn't need you to be perfect," I said quietly. "I needed you to see me." She nodded, eyes glistening. "I thought, because you never asked, because you always handled things. I thought you didn't need us." I exhaled slowly. "That's the lie families tell themselves," I said. "That the quiet one is fine. That the strong one doesn't feel." I finally stepped aside and let her in. She sat on my couch, hands folded tightly in her lap, looking around my apartment like she was seeing a version of my life she'd never bothered to imagine. "You built all this on your own," she said. "Yes," I replied. "And I paid for yours while I was at it." Her shoulders slumped. "I don't know when it became normal," she whispered. "To rely on you like that. To assume." "It became normal because it was convenient," I said gently. "For you. For Dad. For Emily." She didn't argue. That told me everything. In the weeks that followed, things didn't magically fix themselves. Emily didn't suddenly apologize. My father didn't become emotionally fluent overnight. My mother didn't transform into the parent I'd always needed. But something shifted. Subtly. Irreversibly. My parents started paying their own bills again. Late sometimes, stressfully, but on their own. Emily stopped asking for money altogether. And I stopped explaining myself. That was the real change. One afternoon, my father asked to meet me for coffee. He looked smaller than I remembered. Older, not physically, emotionally. "I failed you," he said after a long silence. I didn't interrupt him. I stood by while your mother and I poured everything into Emily," he continued. "And I told myself you were okay because you didn't complain." I stirred my coffee slowly. "Silence isn't consent," I said. "It's survival." He nodded. "I see that now. It wasn't redemption, but it was accountability. And that mattered." Months passed. I moved into a better apartment. Took a job offer I'd been sitting on for years, one that paid more, demanded more, but finally matched my worth. At my new office, no one assumed I'd carry their weight. They saw me, respected me, and the strangest part, I didn't feel guilty for thriving. The next holiday came around quietly. No big family dinner, no forced smiles, just a message from my mother. "We're having a small gathering. No expectations. Just, if you want to come." I thought about it. Then I replied, "I'll stop by. For dessert." And when I did, something was different. Emily didn't dominate the room. My parents didn't orbit her. No one asked me for anything. My mother hugged me. Not tightly, not performatively, just honestly. "I'm proud of you," she said. Not because of what I gave, but because of who I'd become. That was new. Later that night, as I drove home alone, diploma long-framed and hanging in my living room, I realized something important. My family didn't change because I confronted them. They changed because I stopped enabling them, because I stopped shrinking, because I let them feel the absence of what I'd been silently providing. At my graduation ceremony, my family ignored me. But the moment I stopped funding their comfort, they finally saw me, and I didn't need their applause anymore, because I had my own.